I'm James Dunn, and you're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate.
You're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans. We're three friends who love the club, the game, and all things Bears. Well, boys, we are actually away from our spiritual home.
We're slumming it.
We're slumming it. We've gone budget. We're back in, my house tonight, and we haven't got any of our brand new equipment. We're literally sat around a little table with 3 or 4 books, a box, and the mobile recorder right on the top. But we weren't sure we were going to do a pod, but we decided we needed to do one tonight. And then we found out that there was some comedy thing going on at the Bristol Beer Factory. So we've had to go back to our roots.
Which is, it's nice though. I like it. I mean, on a positive note.
Any pants on a radiator?
Well, I don't know what that is, but I'm not going to get too close to it. It doesn't look like pubes.
Those are actually my pyjama shorts. But you know what it's like now, boys, with the winter coming in.
Yeah.
When you do the washing, you've got to
Needs must.
It's all got to go on the radiator.
We're a family of 4.
Needs must, mate. We get it.
And also,
we haven't had to set up for hours.
We haven't had to set up for hours. And we haven't had to do the sort of small talk with Lewis to just make sure he remembers to give us the beers and stuff like that.
That's the downside. We've had to buy our own beers, haven't we? Which is...
and you'll notice that the room's changed a little bit. We've now got a proper work desk behind us.
I feel a bit wrong, so I'm drinking a competitor's beer.
You are.
Apologies.
I think you should. Well, I think when you're away from the beer factory,
when you're away from home,
open season.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, we're a little bit more cramped because my daughter started at GCSEs this year and she needed a sort of study area, so we've changed it into it. But it feels good. But anyway, boys, we decided to do a pod. It's always difficult this time of year, isn't it? Because the Prem finishes, then there's a bit of Prem Cup, then we have our exhibition game, then there's a bit of a break, and then the Prem doesn't restart until it's 23rd Saturday, the 28th.
No, it's even later.
Of November. But we did have some terrible news in the week that meant we really, really felt we needed to get together and have an emergency pod.
Well, we needed a therapy session after that news, didn't we?
It was therapy. And of course, a lot of you boys out there and girls as well, sorry, I don't know what came over me there.
And men and
women and all sorts. And anybody, and anyone who's gender neutral, and there's probably a few cats and dogs out there that listen as well.
And maybe, is it Free Eye Atlas? Maybe there's a couple of aliens on board as well.
Maybe that as well. But for all of our millions of listeners, of course, I guess if you do listen to the pod regularly, you'll know what we're talking about. It was a rumour a few weeks ago. We hoped it wasn't true, but now it's all come out in the press, and even now officially come out that, I go as far to say that almost best friend of the pod, James
definitely.
Dunn, is going to be leaving Bristol Bears, his hometown club, at the end of the year. And I think if there is anyone out there that hasn't heard the news or hasn't seen any of the detail, I think we owe it to Dunnie to read his statement that he wrote for the fans. So here it goes. It goes, "Dear Bristol Bears fans," that's us boys, and loads of other people. I was a little bit disappointed he didn't say "Dear Bears fans" and the pod boys, but I'll let him off because it's a big moment. Right?
There's still time.
There's still time. And he said, "I will be leaving Bristol at the end of the season, a club that I've grown up with. From coming through the academy to running out at Ashton Gate, Bears has shaped me as a player and a person. I'm grateful to every teammate, staff member and coach who believed in me, and to Pat for giving me the opportunity to establish myself in the Premiership. It's a brilliant group of boys here, and I'm grateful to call them mates. Thanks to Steve Lansdowne and his family for what he has done for our club. Being a homegrown player at Bristol has been an honour, and I have never taken it for granted. But life is also about growth, and that means stepping into the unknown. For me personally, this has been one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but it's time for a new chapter. I've changed a lot during my time here. Losing my dad and overcoming many challenges has given me the perspective to go and test myself in a different environment and experience life in a new city, having spent my life here in the West Country. To the fans at Ashton Gate, you've been incredible. You've always supported me and my family, and it's given me memories I will always treasure. Bristol will always be home, and I have no doubt that the club will continue to go from strength to strength. We still have so much to achieve this season, and I'm determined to leave with silverware. Once a Bear, always a Bear, James Dunn.
True.
Absolutely true.
Well, boys, I'm going to
Let's dissect that.
pass it over to you. Do you want to go first, Lee? Lee, what are your thoughts?
I mean, first of all, obviously, speaking for all three of us, we're all absolutely gutted that Dunnie's gone or going. But I have to admire and respect his decision. I think that, he's putting himself outside the box and outside of his comfort zone. And I think in any walk of life, that's a really tough thing to do. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of guts and determination. And I think that, there's going to be as gutted as we are to see him go, there's going to be no bigger supporters of James Dunn than the three of us, is there? And I'm going to love seeing him albeit in a Quins shirt, but I'm going to love seeing him play, and I'm going to love seeing him smash the opposition. So gutted, yes, but I can respect his decision, and I think we're fully behind him, aren't we?
Miles?
Yeah, I might reiterate. I feel like we're in mourning as a group of lads, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've learned to respect, James Dunn as a player, a friend, and a contributor to our podcast over the last year. And he was ultimately an absolute top bloke, amazing player. And the growth we've seen him come from the academy to first team to that try at Bath at the rank in the semi-final last year just topped it off. A true Bristolian. As you said, it's so tough for him to leave a club that he's just grown up with, and it's so hard to move on to the next chapter, a complete unknown to him. But we wish him well. We hope that he progresses, and Quins, no doubt, will, grow him as a player, and ultimately, might get on the international stage. But we're absolutely gutted. But he goes with our blessing, of course.
Yeah, he needs our blessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll add to that. I remember Lee saying many pods ago we were discussing a team selection, and I think it was just after he'd come back from Jersey, and I remember you specifically saying I think James Dunn would be good to get in the side, and it was when we didn't know much about him. He'd been an academy boy, and I do remember you saying that, and you had seen something in him, and you said we need to get Dunnie in the side, or James Dunn in the side, and then he's got over 50 appearances in the heat of battle in the Premiership, and including a massive shift at Claremont, which I think proves what a great player he is already, and what a player he can be. And obviously, with our conversations with Dunnie, we were very lucky to get him to come and talk to us on the pod twice. And one of the things he was very clear about is that he had a very specific role in the team, which was to do the filthy stuff, which was to get up, hit rucks, which was to stop the opposition playing. And he said that, Bats did the line-out calling, and that was something he wanted to develop and learn, but he was in charge of maul defence. And our maul defence has been something that has been really, really good. So this is a guy who is not... He's not got potential. The guy is already there. And, he is going to grow and develop, like he said. And we did send him a personal message on our WhatsApp, on our Instagram, because that's how we contact him most of the time. And he generally replies. And we sent him a little message, just basically off saying, we are gutted. We understand what you're saying. We really do. We really think it's a real shame that a really good Bristolian player is leaving the club.
Yeah, of course.
And he said, thank you, guys. Been an absolute pleasure, and not done yet. Would be nice to leave on a high. I'm still available for the pod, even when I'm in London. Let's grab a pint at the next home Prem game.
Which sounds good to us.
That is the measure of the guy. He doesn't have to say that to us. We're just three blokes having a middle-age crisis and running a podcast. James Dunn is 25 years old. He's a serious rugby player, but he treats us with real respect, and we respect him for that as well.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room now then.
Okay.
Because we've done all the
niceties
now.
Yeah, agree.
Now, there's one issue which I think sticks in the mind for me, and it was very early right at the beginning, the genesis of Pat Lam's reign, is that he wanted to bring in young Bristolian players, right, which will eventually go on and play for England. Yeah? We're all agreed on that.
Yeah.
So the thing that really sticks in my craw is the fact now we've lost a Bristolian player. right? We've lost a guy whose heart and soul was blue and white hoops. We all agree. As much as we've got Rebelio in the team,
or even Rubiolo,
all the same thing.
Same man.
I'll just pronounce it like Gareth Chilcott would. Sorry, Coochie.
I thought Chilcott was in the room then. I've never seen you and Chilcott in the
same
room together. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, it's a bugbear of mine. The fact is, we've lost one of our own, and he is one of our own. I think some departures really do it quite hard, and this one, I think, hit all three of us quite badly.
I think you're right. I think amazing. It's like we're not even halfway through the season, but this has hit us personally, professionally. Out of all the departures we see at the end of the season, we know players come and go, their contracts end, etc. But to lose such a stalwart in Bristol, you're absolutely right. The rhetoric that's been given to fans, I mean, there's no lie, is it, that we promote Bristolians. We want Bristolians to win caps, 100 caps for England. And I know the England is tight as a back row at the moment, but, if he feels that to move on and progress his game in another club is the only way of doing that, fair play to him. But I'm just absolutely gutted that we're not potentially, we don't know, that we're willing to match the offer that Quins have given him. I mean, that we've decided to reduce our squad, to reduce the amount we pay in the cap, and lose such a brilliant player.
Well, I think you make a really good point there, Miles, and this is the problem sometimes with the kind of rhetoric and the reality, is that it's a good strapline when you're rebranding the club, building the club from nothing, which is essentially what happened after 2019. And but there is a reality, there is a market reality that that money does talk a lot of the time. And we know that Dunnie said to us that he knows there are certain sort of points where locks are in demand and they have a certain value. And I think that we don't know clearly. We had no idea what the numbers or anything are. But if Saracens have offered, God, he wouldn't have gone there. I know that for a fact. Yeah. But if Quins he wouldn't have gone there for anything. But Quins had offered him something. I assume this is the way negotiations work. Bears, he makes it aware what the offer is, and whatever that is. Clearly, we haven't given him an offer that will make him want to deny the offer. Yeah. So it is, unfortunately, and that's nothing wrong with that, because that's market forces, that's capitalism, and he's got his, he's obviously happy with whatever he's been offered. He's got a life, and of course you layer on all the things he said because he's looking for opportunity. And one thing we could also say is that it's possible to make it a case for the fact that his opportunity for representative honours has been stymied a little bit by being at Bristol, not because there's anything wrong with his game. It's just that Bristol isn't necessarily seems like a fashionable place to get into squads like that. No, and I think there's that element as well. And I mean, we've got to respect that as well. So what I'm saying is that then there's clearly market forces at play, and there always is, but it just is a slight disconnect to make all these proclamations about Bristolians, but then at the end of the day, just don't back it up when market forces dictate.
No, and I mean, my question then would be like, how can Quins value Dunnie more than we do at Bristol? I mean,
if I go back to the market forces argument, they'd probably say they don't have a good enough second row. We have Pedro Rubiolo and we have Joe Batley, and we also have Joe Owen who's coming through.
I think Joe Owen probably is. He's probably the guy that Pat Lam sees for the future. I think we all know how talented Joe Owen is.
Agreed.
And he's versatile, which Pat loves as well.
He's probably slightly more versatile.
So I do agree. That's probably had some influence on the decision.
And from an economic point of view, Joe Owen is not on a big contract. He's still, and this is the problem every club has, is that you develop your homegrown players, and by the definition, they have good value because they're homegrown. But at some point, they've got to renegotiate a contract. And Dunnie was renegotiating a contract, I imagine, from a position of strength. He's got 50 appearances. He's an integral part, but there is a limit, I guess, to these things. And again, I'm sure if I was playing devil's advocate, someone would say, well, we've got a budget and we can't blow the budget. And we've got, Rubiolo, we got Batley, we've got Joe Owen coming through, we've got Paddy Pearce. You know, it's a constant evolution, and that is fine. And I 100% understand that. We're not naive, but it just is annoying when you kind of are sold the idea that there is something slightly special about keeping your own players.
And also the evolution's now become like we've strengthened one of our opponents, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree, and you're right. And we have decided, well, not we, the club have decided is to contract their expenditure and to contract their squad. So it's not a good time, surely, to release such a talented player.
That's a good point.
To a club who will absolutely bring out the best in him, and you can just see it now, can't you? Him playing phenomenally well for Quins and beating Bristol on a day, and thinking, well, there we go.
But if he does come, when he comes back to the Gate, we know he's that sort of player. Whatever he does, he will get an applause.
Of course,
without a doubt.
I mean, there might be another narrative here, boys. Maybe he's a secret agent that he's been put out because Pat's thinking we ain't got enough money to win the league. We've got to win silverware. So what we need is a spy. And then, so he goes for Harlequins, and then he is playing all these other teams and spying on the other teams for us to give us it. But no, that was just what I was dreaming when I was daydreaming the other day. Well, look, boys. I mean, I don't know much else we can say. I
think we've done that.
Can we all say, Dunnie? I know you'll be listening to this, and we all love you lots, mate, and not just the three of us in this room, but I think, there's another 15,000 supporters out there and their shirts, and we're all collectively gutted to see you go. But we do wish you all the best, and we're going to enjoy watching you
the rest of this
doing
season.
what you do.
Yeah.
And we'll see you down the stoop at some point. Boys, I've got a few tissues if you want them. Or should we just have a moment?
Well, they look used to be. I don't know if we need those.
But no, I mean, joking aside, and we don't want to be.
You got 50 bears.
We have. I meant to say, boys, I've got the bag of. Here it is. I've got the bag of tissues.
What are we doing with these now?
I just realised that we were waiting for this moment. This is the rustle. Now, I feel like this is a community that if anybody is feeling upset out there, like us, about Dunnie, get in touch with me and I will somehow find a way to get you a Bristol Bears hanky so that you can wipe the
we were waiting for this moment.
Do you know what I've also still got here, boys? I've still got Dunnie's away shirt, his European shirt.
Has it not been collected yet?
The guy hasn't got. Nobody's claimed it yet, and I
well, that's gone up in value, hasn't it?
So
we're going to have to re-raffle it.
It might have to be a re-raffle, and maybe we should do this at the end of the season. If I will, the guy that won it, I haven't actually genuinely contacted him. But he hasn't contacted me, so he obviously hasn't been listening to the last few pods. But if he doesn't want it, then maybe, just maybe, we could talk to Dunnie about this, and as his sort of farewell, we might be able to do something where he gives it away in person, and so on. So there you go. I finally found a use for the hankies. Right, boys, we've got to
try to cheer ourselves up.
Yeah. Well,
on the positive.
Yeah, got one on the positive side. I mean, there has been some rugby. Obviously, we all know that it's this block of Premiership finished, and we talked about it in the last pod. We thought that 3 from 5 was a pretty good return.
Yeah,
and given the injuries and given the fact that the 2 away games we lost were probably the 2 hardest.
Yeah,
maybe apart from Sale, but Saracens and Bath. So I think we were pretty happy. I think we also felt, in some ways, it's quite a good time for some of our injury people to get fit again. But of course, there was still a couple of games there. We've had one Prem Cup game against Bath, and we've had a game against Argentina. So I thought we'd just quickly whip through those 2 games. The first one, Miles, was on the back of losing 40-15, I think it was,
away
in the Prem
at
Bath. We then very quickly welcomed them, as it were, to the Gate. And again, it was a different sort of game. Both teams had put out a lot of academy players, which is what's expected for these Prem Cup games. But Bath put out, I would say, more first team players than we did. So they had Barbary playing, they had Chris Harris, They had
De
Will
Glanville
Butts,
as well.
They had Tom de
Yeah,
Glanville.
of course.
They had some pretty deep. They had Ewan Richards, who's kind of academy, but he's about as good as most of their first team.
Yeah.
They had a strong side. We had Jack Bates was playing. We had Graham Slaw. We had a few. Oh, Gray was on the bench for that as well.
Yeah,
so we had
yeah.
a few, but we did also put out a lot of our youngsters, and that in the spirit of the competition. We lost 1949.
Yeah.
It was it was the old classic tough day at the office. I mean, me and Miles started by watching it in the Dolman, which was. But the trouble is, you see too much in the Dolman, and you're thinking, I don't know, I don't want to see this. And anyway, so it wasn't because there was a few spare seats. We migrated back to the Lansdowne, and we're about 3 rows back, and it's a completely different experience watching the game 3 rows back in the Lansdowne. You don't really see what's going on. You can't really see the pattern of the space, but you do really feel the collision.
You feel the size of the players and the collisions.
And it just reinforced that they were just a stronger side. Their first team players. I mean, Barbary sadly went off injured and got quite a big round of applause from Bears fans because he is a good player and he'd been rampaging and he'd rampaged through and he did something to his hand. He was punching the ground a bit like AJ did. He knew he'd done something.
He's had a lot of injuries.
I know.
He got tackled. Rightly so. He got tackled from behind and slammed down. And I think that's an injury. He'll be out for a couple of months
like
based on that.
And I just think it's hard to say it, but it's true that their academy are just better than our academy at the moment, and that's not a subjective thing. That's an objective fact because they've really developed it and they've spent a lot of money. And if you talk to our academy manager, he'll tell you how big their catchment area is compared to us.
Yeah,
well, we know that. Yeah,
so in some ways, although I've always said this about Prem Cup games, haven't I, boys? That at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's a no jeopardy game, and it felt a bit like that. It was a bit of a disappointment that we didn't quite. I mean, Boshoff played. He played well, I thought. Aidan Boshoff. We had the Bearless Bevan, the Welsh guy that's come in, come off. He came on. He played all right. And we had Victor Worsnip in the... in the stays.
Best name on the team sheet.
I mean, I've got to say, Victor Worsnip is an 18-year-old Clifton College. He looks, he's got swagger about him. It was a tough, I think he was up against Harrison, he was up against Will Butt, who is no mug.
No.
And he doesn't make the Bath first team, but Will Butt is a big unit.
That's another classic surname as well.
It was Worsnip against Butt. I mean, it's like the sort of thing you can imagine saying, I mean, I think I said to my dad, my dad said he's 87. Said where do you go? I said, I went to see Bristol play Bath in the Prem Cup. You're in the Prem Cup with the Bath? Who was? I said, well, there was a few young lads. There was Victor Worsnip. What parsnip you say? I said, no, Dad, Victor Worsnip. It's the sort of name that old people are going to get wrong. And Miles was a little bit like, Victor. Miles was being a bit rude actually during the game. During the game he was.
Never.
And he was going, Victor. Who calls their son Victor? This is someone called Miles saying that. Anyway,
there was an excuse back in the 70s, mate. That's all I'm going to say.
In your credit. Then in the Argentinian game, which
played again.
About in a minute, he played again. He played really well. He scored his debut try.
Yeah,
Miles was eating. I mean, he had his hat and he was eating
I had
his
some
hat.
Pie, eating it.
So
Miles likes a pie.
So I don't know, Miles. Is there anything you want to add for that Prem Cup game?
Not really. It was a bit chastening for the young lads, wasn't it? You're right. They had a spark. They had a little bit of sparkle of their Prem team, which is just a little bit better than ours. But it was a learning curve for the young lads. A lot of academy lads in, and I thought they put up they didn't put up a fight to a certain extent, but I don't think you read too much into it. No team's going to.
And the only other thing was it was the return of Matt Prothero.
Yes,
fullback.
of course.
And I've got to say, I didn't really recognise him at all. He looked.
You can say he's put on a bit of timber.
Well, I know he just looked a bit older, which clearly he is a bit older. But I just seem to remember this kind of flowing blonde hair, sort of streaking down the wing, scoring amazing tries, and he just looked older. And he's been out in. We obviously went back to Ospreys, and I think he was out in New Zealand.
Yeah, I think
Hawke's
he said
Bay.
that.
And he come back. He had a bit of he had a bit of 3-day stubble. So I'm sure he hadn't shaved when he played for us before, and he had 3-day stubble, and he looked good. Yeah. He looked good, and actually,
what position did he play?
Well, he played fullback
for the Prem
game,
Cup,
but then we'll come on to the Argentina game. He played he played 10 for the Argentina game. Played well. So yeah, it was nice to see Prothero back, and he played well. To be fair,
he's a good lad.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what more to say about that. I mean, I think it's a shame we lost. I mean, I think we've lost 2-1-1 now, and we've got one more game against Chiefs. We'll see. That's not next week, the week after. We'll see what happens. I don't know whether we're going to get through to the knockout. It would be quite nice, because I guess from an academy point of view, if you can get at least one more game, it's another bit of game time.
You get the young lads, playing some game time.
Well, let's face it, that's all it is. The competition is just trying to get some game time for the youngsters to come through.
I mean, we've discussed the Prem Cup, whether it was value in it. I mean, obviously it was a season ticket game. They have to make them season ticket games, because otherwise there aren't that many games. And I think for us, me and Miles walking down from 10 minutes from home, it's fine. I imagine if you live up in I don't know, Down End or North Bristol or Chipping Sodbury,
you may
something
not
like
bother.
that, or Sarah Beaumont if you live down in Devon or something like that. It's not quite as big an incentive to come up, but it is what it is. I think it's one of those. But it did lead us on nicely to Friday's
the game this Friday night,
which was the fifth in our series of exhibition games. And well, I mean, it was a pretty miserable night. It was raining. The team that we put out was pretty similar to the Prem Cup team. We had Jack Bates again was playing outside centre as a bit of quality. Graham Slaw was playing.
Joe Owen
captained. Victor Worsnip was back at centre. We had Matt Prothero went 10. We had Bates outside him. We had a few changes on the bench, and we had young Evan Morris, I think, on the one wing. We had Aidan Boshoff on the other wing. We had
a couple of under 18 academies.
Yeah,
actually.
Josh Carrington, and then we had some real youth on the bench, and they put up a pretty good show against a pretty physical looking Argentinian side, who I understand were mainly picked from the Argentinian league. There's a fledgling league, so they're picked to get them experience, but they look pretty solid.
They're pretty experienced.
And actually, unlike, I think our boys played a lot better against them than they did against Bath in the Premier Cup game, but maybe the Bath team were better than the Argentinians, I don't know. And we scored first, actually, rolling ball. Thomas William was playing hooker. Two games. He looks like a good academy prospect coming up at hooker. Scored, but we scored first, and then after that
didn't really score again. I mean, you're right. There was an encouraging start, but you look at the size of some of those Argentinians. They've been eating a lot of beef. The whole pack looked absolutely huge. And you're right. You think outside of their first team 23, they are the next 23. So they are no mugs. They're going to put in a tough game. You said, they're playing a league in Argentina, which is competitive. So we should have expected probably a very good squad. And we decided as a club to put out academy and some under 18s. And at the end of the day, they got schooled, but that's no disrespect to the effort they put in, which was 110%. But
I mean, it does lead us on to discuss it. And Lee, you want to say something?
I just want to say, can we stop calling them exhibition games now?
Well,
I think,
and I'm going to use a snooker analogy to this.
Yeah.
When we want exhibition games, we want to see Jimmy White. We want to see O'Sullivan. We want to see
Alex Higgins doing a funny walk.
Yes.
John Virgo doing trick shots.
We just want a game of rugby, almost like a barbarian style. Let's just go for it, rugby game. We don't want to see Terry Griffiths, do we?
No,
never.
I mean, by the look, a couple of those RGs, we did see Bill Werbenek. he was back down at 3, and actually their fly off wasn't too off him. But Lee you make a really good point.
The weather. Look at that option.
Yeah. Well, the weather was poor. The crowd was really, really poor on Friday night. So I guess, ultimately the question we're saying is 3 podcasters and 10,000 season ticket holders, is this exhibition during the situations now, is it dead in the water? What do we think?
I mean, I wrote a post article for this, and it got me thinking, because I did my research, and basically we've done 5 exhibition games, and these were sold brilliantly quite soon after we came out of lockdown. And the idea is that there's only 10 teams in the league. we have to offer more to season ticket holders, and we
Yeah.
also want to
I get
grow the
that.
game.
We get the
We want to
principle.
get the principle's
Yeah.
brilliant,
Yeah.
and it started brilliantly with South Africa.
That was class.
And you know what? I look back at their lineup. They had Thomas du Toit playing for them. They had the guy that I can't pronounce his name, but their new wonder fly half was playing on that night.
Yeah.
They had Marco van Staden playing that night. They had some serious players who've gone through. Now, I looked at our team, and we had a fully loaded first team. It wasn't all a first team, but every single player was. Joycey and Bats were playing.
Well, I remember when Bats, we scored a try and
Yeah.
Bats just like
Lahir
put his
was
hands
playing.
up.
Jan
Like,
Thomas was playing. But the Cash Point was playing. Brian Byrne was playing. Lahif was playing. We had Harding was playing. Of course, this was early in his development, but he was still clearly a very. Steve Luatua was playing. Jake Heenan was playing.
Yeah.
We had Will Porter Sheedy was playing.
we can say though. I mean, obviously we couldn't put a team out like that.
No.
No,
But this
no.
is my point. I'm not Chris. It was conceived as an exhibition, and it was an exhibition. Now, for many reasons, since then, we then played the Crusaders.
Yeah.
And they came and did the Hacker. I don't know if you remember. It was
I
like
do.
all
Well,
in
we
the sort
couldn't
of
see it, could
mist.
we?
We couldn't see it, but that was iconic.
Yeah.
And they beat us quite easily. We then had the Australia one last year that wasn't season ticket, but it was
we
a
paid
10
for that,
it was a
didn't we?
10-all draw. Ironically, we had a reasonable side out, but we didn't have we were hamstrung a little bit by international call-ups.
Yeah, of course.
And that was a 10-all draw, so it wasn't really an exhibition. It was kind of like a cup. It was just a kind of league game. And then we had the Queens and Reds, and we know the club. Tom Tainton has been on this pod and said that went wrong. That was all wrong. But then the problem was we had the Argentinian one, and it was a kind of let's reboot this exhibition idea.
Yeah.
And it was a good idea, and it did sound like a good idea because we have the connections with the Pumas, with all of our.
Yeah.
But me and you were there, Miles, and it's a fact to say there weren't very many people there. There were many empty seats. That means that season ticket holders didn't go, and not many people bought tickets. Now, clearly we know why that is.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you my point of view for that is because it wasn't interesting. I didn't go to that game. I had no interest whatsoever in going to that game, and that was because it wasn't any interest to me whatsoever. And I think that I can speak from the people that didn't go.
Yeah.
But I mean, full respect, and we do appreciate the club are trying to shift things, and they're trying to generate interest. But for me, that's not the way for them to do it. Tom Tainton is great looking outside the box. Let's get a Cardiff team down to.
Yeah, I think I'm
Let's
not.
do a
We're
double
not.
header. Let's go to.
I think my point was.
Let's go to the Arms Park.
Yeah.
Let's do a double header.
Let's
How
go
good
to
would
let's
that
go
be?
to the Principality Stadium. Oh wait, I think we've already. But no, I mean what we're trying to say here is that it's like it was a great idea that maybe has now run its course.
I think so.
But I know why they did. They still need to do something for season ticket holders. Now, I think it's a good opportunity to reboot that and look at something different. And that's a great idea. Like look at some sort of, the other Bears kind of Welsh team or whatever and call it an exhibition and then play it like an exhibition. But the other thing that annoyed me about Friday was that we had Sarah Cox reffing. Sarah Cox is a Premiership ref, but she was reffing like she was being marked.
Yeah.
So she brandished a couple of yellows. There was a big
yellows
head.
at least.
You're like thinking we don't want to see.
No,
and
no,
also
no.
the game
She shouldn't
plan.
even taken any cards out. On
We
the
felt that.
And also, and then it goes back to your really good point a few pods ago about thinking about the personality of the ref for the game. So we were saying that Tempo was a little bit, he was a bit tense about the Bath game, and Luke Pearce would have managed that game much better. Now, there's no disrespect to Sarah Cox, but maybe a kind of somebody with who's been a bit more experienced, who's quite good at talking, lads, would have said, "Look, lads, let's stop a bit of this side entry now. Come on, let's just do this properly."
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that slightly disappointed me was that we box kicked it more than I've ever seen us box kick it for about a year now. They may be playing to the conditions, but it's like that's not really getting me that excited
So
as
you
well.
did get a bit of Terry Griffiths.
Yeah,
we
we got a bit
did.
of Terry
We did
Griffiths.
Terry Griffiths rugby
We got a bit
style.
of Joe Davis. You remember Joe Davis? It's all in black and white. It suddenly went black and white. But the point I'm trying to make is that we really understand. I actually enjoyed the night, and then in hindsight, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's great to see the hit out for the boys," and it was great to see it. But that wasn't the reason why that exhibition game was put on. No. And we had context is difficult. Lots of injuries. We had ridiculous people getting called up for international. Toby Fricker got called up for the USA, and he's on loan.
I know.
And we had Luca went out with the Georgians,
and then Maroney as well.
And then Maroney gets picked for the Argentinians. Ironically, because he's played 2 good games for us and played well for the Barbarians. So it's all our own fault. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I tried to get this across in the post, it wasn't a criticism, but I'm just saying it feels like, it's run its course, but we're not saying don't do something. Yeah, let's have an open and honest discussion about other opportunities.
No, and you kindly let us read the post before you sent it out and asked our opinions, and I thought it was really well balanced. I thought you put all the key points in that you needed to, and I think Tom Tainton, if he reads that tomorrow in the post, I think he'd probably hold his hands up and say, like, that was, he's already agreed that there's mistakes have been made. And I think that it was really well written, mate. You're not criticising the club at all. What we were saying is like maybe a different idea now in the future.
Okay. Yeah, the innovation that I think that Tom's bringing is fantastic, and he said that to us on the pod and fans, and he's great. He's a young CEO, and we love it. But I think you're right. He's inherited potentially this fixture, hasn't he? The exhibition game. And I think you're right. It's run its course in its current format. Well, I think we all agree that.
We can't keep dining out on the South African night.
No.
Going to happen.
So something needs to change. A forum. It's like maybe get fans engaged. What would you like to see?
Yeah.
If you had it maybe outside of the season ticket and then pay-per-view, but you've got to put something in that pay-per-view that fans will come and see.
Let's put it out to our listeners then, Miles. Because what do our listeners think? Because it would be, we've got some brilliant, really intelligent listeners, and it would be great to see what their thoughts are.
Because we need a game.
Yeah,
if there's still going to be only 9 home games and 2 Prem Cup home games and 2 European ones, there has to be something. But
we met some players up this afternoon at Shaftesbury Park, some types of players, some listeners, etc. I think they get we are a competitive price season ticket. We all know that, and we really appreciate it. But potentially don't fill the gaps with games like this that don't mean anything. The result is poor, and some innovation. You're right. Let's get some ideas together and see what we can fill. Other clubs have done nothing at all, have they? And have charged the same price for their season ticket. Yeah. And we're really grateful that we've kept the season ticket holder the price the same. But something needs to change on this innovation,
and especially if you're running a small squad like we knew, and there's autumn internationals, and it seems to be more nations seem to be playing all at the same time. It was always going to be a struggle to get.
I think so.
Can I just make a kind of side point?
Yeah,
I did read that there was a few supporters and really not very happy about Pat Lam choosing Fitzgerald and Yancey for the Barbars as well,
and Maroney,
yeah. But obviously, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think if you're looking at with your hoops on and you're thinking we just can't have any of these guys injured.
Any more injuries.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that was one of those ones that it all turned out well in the end. None of them got injured. And I don't think. And of course, on the back of that, Fitzy's now got an England A club, and I don't think anybody would begrudge.
Oh, you've segmented nicely.
So I think we've done the exhibition game. Hang on. Oh, whoops.
Bit of foam.
Anyway, moving on. So moving on quickly through the agenda. I guess we wanted to say how good that is that Fitzy's finally got some recognition.
Absolutely.
And I think in some ways we need to give Pat a bit of credit that Pat backed him.
He did.
And, it has perhaps made an impact on the selectors, whoever they are, and they realise that Fitz is and I think my post article from one of the Exeter game where I said that, he's everything you want for a club player. He's a full pro and stuff like that. Yeah. So fair play to Fitz, and by all accounts, he was on the bench and came on. I've no idea how well he played. No. I know Bat scored a try, which is good, and just if he never gets anything again, that's recognition of the fact we're talking about a guy who's got 100 appearances for a top 6. Let's call us a top 6 Premiership, top 4 in the last seasons Premiership club. one of the best, good league, and
One of the youngest captains.
one of the youngest captains who was playing for Durham Fourths, who hasn't come from a scholarship through a pathway, was picked up because there was something about him, and clearly has proven to Pat. We know what Pat is his own man. He saw something in him. He gave him the captaincy over Big Steve. And, Big Steve would probably gave his blessing. So, you don't give a 24-year-old guy the captaincy of a Premiership club at the age of 24 if there's nothing about him. So, brilliant.
Yeah.
So fair play to Fitz.
Yeah.
And let's hope it's only the start of things.
And well done, Bats, as well, for scoring a try.
And, the Bats thing was brilliant because he had to leave the training in the week because we need to congratulate him on his second baby.
Yeah.
But that's also segues back to the Argentina game, is that Joe Owen was then called in to Bath because they were training at Bath University to train because I guess they needed to fill a bat-sized hole, although Joe Owen's a bit taller, just to kind of have the numbers, and then basically didn't train with the team that played against Argentina and came back. And then that's another thing, we had a team that was never played together before as well, and that doesn't help the spectacle, even though they played well. So big Joe Owen, well played. And actually Joe Owen was interviewed afterwards on the socials and spoke very well. He seems like a really intelligent, articulate sort of guy, and of course he did hold the flag up at Gloucester with James Dunn, so he's
our
now
hero
sucked
as well.
he's now been sucked into the Bears Beyond the Gate.
Sucked into our next pod victim.
Into our universe, and he cannot get away from it. In fact, the next thing we'll find is Joe Owen is now leaving the club at the end of the season because Saracens have offered him like loads of money, and he said, "I've got it to go, but I just don't want to ever hold that flag again." Anyway, so anything else to say on the international? I think we've moved on.
No, I suppose
the other thing I would say, negatively speaking, and I don't know whether he's injured or not, but it seemed very disappointing that Gabriel Ogre didn't appear. Like, having played for England and England in the winter, has probably been the most consistent Premiership hooker in the first 5 games in terms of accuracy, tries. I just don't know what's gone on there. No idea. Anyone does know, let us know.
I mean, we're supremely disappointed. It's always never getting called up into the full A England training squad, isn't it? Ahead of the likes of, Theo Dowd.
Well, he got injured, didn't he, as well? But Blameyer, they got Jamie Blameyer has got in there.
You're right, and the consistency that he delivers, he's much better.
Don't understand that. But anyway, if anyone knows that. Anyway, moving on. One more game to quickly talk about was we went down Shaftesbury Park, didn't we, Miles, this afternoon? Bit of a whim. We thought we'd go down. Saracens are in town. Marley Packer, plumber
I did drive past and I did wave to you both.
Thanks very much. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, Marley Packer, plumber from Yeovil. It's always good to go and see Saracens. But anyway,
Stop the leaks? No, she didn't.
Well, early on there was a massive leak, and our friend Ella Lovibond went straight through their defence. Scored early. First 10 minutes, I thought we're going to hammer Saracens. They weren't at the races at all.
But
and
turned it around.
As is the way, their sort of power play came back in. They scored 2 quick tries before half time. Came back out, and although to be fair, the girls got back in it. They won a few scrum penalties. They just didn't make their.
Sadly, they weren't really clinical enough.
No,
the set piece in the line out didn't work, did it? They didn't hit the jumper,
and that might be as much Saracens spoiling it as it was.
Maybe we had our Red Roses in Abby Ward and Sarah Byrne. They had 2 or 3, didn't they? Just Breach.
They had Jess Breach.
Zoe Harrison,
who kicked off the tee.
Kicked everything off the tee.
Marley
so
Packer.
And Marley
they had the Canadian scrum half, didn't they?
Apps,
yeah. So they were a good side.
Showed the class, and ultimately, I think they overpowered and looking like they could be top 2 finish.
We just didn't.
They're going to be finalists.
Yeah, I think so.
And we just didn't get it out to our wingers, did we?
No.
Millie Wiz and Renika Bonner. When they did get the ball, they had no space. They tried their best, but
too horizontal. But good afternoon.
We did have a good afternoon. We saw Cruty, we saw Marcus Watts, we saw Stoner, we saw Ness, and
chatted to Tom Townsend and Dave Ward.
And then we saw Dave Ward, but Dave Ward was looking very hassled because he was looking
trying to control his daughter
on his own, and he wasn't watching. He just went inside the clubhouse and he was trying to keep her busy. And we went over and said a quick hello to him, and he was like, "Oh," we said, "Oh, it's Dave, it's the Pod Boys." He's like, "Oh yeah, good to see you, lads." We said, "Yeah, we won't keep you. You see, you got your hands full." And I thought, this is classic. You know, you've got like a Red Roses winner on the pitch, and he can't even watch the game because he's trying to keep his little daughter busy, and he was struggling, he was sweating like that, and he was like, and
we've all been there.
that's what I almost said it. We've been there. But I thought that sounds so patronising. But anyway, it was nice to see Dave again. I mean, Antill are having an up and down season. He is a lovely fella.
Mostly down.
And we'll see what happens with that. So, boys, I think we're whipping through. I don't want to spend too much time because it was supposed to be a quick one. I've got two more things to do.
Yeah, go for it.
We had tidy up a few comments from listeners that we've had over the last couple of weeks I want to read out. But then quickly, Euro shirt was released. Quick, very, very quickly. Thoughts, Lee?
I don't know if I can pronounce the faults on there. I'm not a big fan.
Not a big fan. That'll do. Miles?
Not for me. I'm not parting with any money. Simple as that.
No,
it's not unique enough and progressive enough to me to warrant.
I quite like it. To be honest.
Okay.
I can see it as a sort of fashionable attire, but my only problem is that given our record in Europe in the last couple of seasons, it's 70 quid seems really expensive because you're only going to potentially wear it 4 times. So
what are you going to wear it to Scarlets?
Oh well, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to wear my old one. And the other thing is, I still
I've got an old Euro shirt.
Yeah. So but this is my point: is that I'd rather wear. I've got the classic suspension bridge one for a few years ago. So that's what I'm going to wear to Scarlets.
And me.
And we've got. By the way, if anyone's listening,
if you ever die, put that in your will to me.
Yeah. So I think it's fair enough. There'll be people who want to buy it, and they have to do it. And I quite like this design. It's a bit like a Magic Eye sort of painting, wasn't it? You look at it hard enough, you see a picture of Pat Lam comes out.
You like that
trophy. Yeah, us winning a first trophy. Yeah. A couple of other things. Then to finish off, had a couple of emails. Had one from David Rogers, and it links back to the
brother.
It might be. It could be Kenny's brother. I know. Yeah, it could be Kenny's. We could do this all night. It could be Kenny's nephew. But and he said, and this links back to the Argentinian game. He said, "Not sure if you're doing a pod this weekend." We are. I missed the match yesterday. Brackets would have gone if not for local fireworks. It's like even that.
Even that put him off.
It's even a local.
He seems to get hold.
I reckon
he was only talking about sparklers in
in the back garden.
I said it all.
No offence to the club, but that is an ongoing gag that we will continue to use. But it sounds like it was a good experience for the young guns. Correct. Nice to hear Ollie Harris from Yatton RFC scoring on his debut, which was Miles Wendy's best friend's
nephew.
So
good on him.
It's almost family, Miles, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm still interested in these international friendlies. However, David is positive and think there is value in them for the club, especially if it ends up as New Zealand one year. And that is the one thing we didn't say. We've always said the All Blacks would be the one.
It would be.
But we missed out on their team, didn't we? So if Mark, maybe, I think
we missed out on
Tom manages to get it. I don't care whether they put Brisley Bear out. We will go and watch the All Blacks play.
Of course we would. But if I'm going to be totally honest, I don't ever see it happening. That's a long way
not at the moment
to be as free for a special occasion.
He did say one thing for you guys to ponder and maybe pressure for next time. I'm not sure we have got this much pressure. I'd like to see the club use the friendly matches as an opportunity to use the old classic letters instead of numbers. Would be a great gesture, but a nice one. Probably
great
unlikely.
Gesture ain't gonna happen.
But on letters, I know we had a discussion about the letters
falling off shirts. Yeah, I remember.
Pre-game. We had John Maggs emailed us and said, "Great podcast as ever, lads. Thanks. Just to add to your goat about the misspelling or the letters falling off, David Flatman said to me a while back that the kit man at Bath once purposely left the L off his name on the back of his shirt."
Love it.
So
that's good.
I like that.
Your kit man.
Did you say Mags?
John Maggs.
I wonder if he's any relation to Neil.
Could be. There's a lot of Mags in Bristol there. Maggs is a Bristol surname, isn't it? What else do we add? Oh, another good one. You remember me and you got harangued in the beer queue by Andrew Pearson, who hadn't got his shirt.
Oh, the shirt.
And we've had an ongoing communication with Andrew, a.k.a. Giant
Please
Oak.
tell me he's got it.
Well, we had an email last week saying, just a quick one, lads, finally picked up my Bears away
Hey,
But
that's the positivity we needed.
But what?
with Dunnie
The letters have come.
yeah, and it's the wrong size, and apparently it's another 6 weeks for the right size to come in. But he said. Finally picked up my away shirt just in time for the international break. We'll save it for Northampton at home in late December. So we're pleased for, and actually to be fair
we're
to me,
pleased for him, aren't we?
We're pleased for him, but what?
Yeah, and then we had one more quite topical one, which was from Dom Somerville. And Dom Somerville, you and me sat next to him and his wife at the big day out at Cardiff. Hi guys, loving the pod.
Jimmy's brother.
It could be Jimmy's
Sorry,
brother.
I've got to stop doing this.
It could be. And he said, hi guys, loving the pod.
I can't sing that high.
No, I'm saying, could you actually do it in Jimmy Somerville's voice?
Loving the pod. Keep up the great work. Your recent episode, this is a serious one though, following the tough loss to Bath, or he called them the unwashed, was very therapeutic as I work with a number of their fans. I heard this story from a Gloucester fan who explained how the unwashed are able to assemble such an amazing squad of stars and remain within the salary cap.
A Gloucester fan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The story was this. You join on a 3-year contract, and in years 1 and 2, you're paid basic pay. In year 3, your salary increases 3 times the year 1 marquee rate. So Fat Derek, a.k.a. Finn Russell, but I think that's a bit harsh because I quite like Finn Russell and he was very polite when I asked him to do the thing. Would earn 3 million plus in his last year. So this whole thing about they don't share the contract over the three things and they somehow balance it out. Then it allows you to have 3 marquee players at any one time. So 1 year you can have somebody, 3 people on 3 million.
Yeah,
I've done some digging and there is very little out there. So he's heard this from a mate who knows a mate who's a Gloucester fan, who's big Andy, who has got a lifelong hate of anybody from Bath. But apart from
Gloucester
that,
fan.
It kind of feels like we're trying to be set up on this.
I feel like it.
Can we say no comment?
Yeah, but he does say, do you have any sources you might be able to confirm?
No
this?
comment.
No comment. And is this legal or bending the rules? No comment.
But he might not be far from.
He might not be
Might
far
not
from
be
the truth.
far. We've got
So
no
anyway,
one to corroborate.
I know. Anyway, up the Bears, he says. And then finally, just one of we were kind of umming and ahhing about a pod, and then, well, should we do it? We got nothing to talk about, although we managed to talk about stuff for quite a while. But we were coming out of the Argentina game, and some guy came up said, "Oh, yeah, the pod guys, aren't you? Bears Beyond the Gate." Someone we've never met before, and said, "Oh, we love listening because we just love." Just you chatting about rugby, about what we think about, and it's really fun. And we don't
That's
mind
why we do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't mind that it's not polished or whatever. And they had old Redcliffeans rugby shirts on, and it was. So I said I'd give them a shout out. So it was Gary, and it was Little Harry, and it was Big Mike.
Big Mike.
So Gary, Harry, and Mike, we appreciate your
Love
comments.
talking to you. Thank you very much.
And in a way, you were the ones that decided to stimulate us to do this pod, amongst other things as well. So cheers for that, and loads of other people
lovely.
as well.
Yeah, I mean that's why we do it, isn't it?
And then finally,
on that note, were you going to say? Sorry, just jumping back to what we were talking about, Scarlet's Way on December the 6th.
Yeah.
We would love, because all 3 of us are going to be there.
We're going.
We cannot wait for that.
Yeah.
And if there's any Bears supporters there, come and join us. And let's have a beer.
We're going early because we're driving up because we've got a travel lodge, haven't we, Miles?
We have, yeah.
And therefore, we may well start thinking about this close to the time of trying to do a bit of research, finding out somewhere, and we may just say, right, we're going to be here because we could go up a bit earlier. We're going to be here at this place at a certain time. Come in, and we can have a sort of Bears thing going on. Right, final thing. Robin Hambley won't like this, but there is. I just spelled his name wrong. There is
poet. Hang on a minute. Where's this going?
Poet, and it's not Debs from K-Town. There is another poet jostling for laureateship. And this is J.P. Holden, who had a bit of a pop in the last, did an acrostic, but based on listening to stuff that we've said in the pods, has come up with 3 rhyming poems. The first one, he says, here we go.
On
it was after the Bath game when we were talking about Spencer being
J.P. Holden.
J.P. Holden, at J.P. Holden. Here we go. There is a scrum half called Ben Spencer who is gobby and known for his temper.
He knows him well.
On his shirt there's a 9, so he's expected to whine. For sure, he's the Prem's worst offender. I feel this guy knows a lot about rugby. I'm assuming it's a bloke, could be wrong. Then he was on the one about...
Wait,
about
that's
you.
Cracking start.
It could be.
By the way.
Yeah, it is a cracking start. But then he then picked up on you said you didn't like Miles Reed. And do you not remember that?
Of course I remember.
yeah.
I
So here we
still
go.
don't like Miles Reed.
It said
because
Bath.
he's so good.
Yeah, it said
Yeah.
Bath have a back row called Miles Reed, who had hair, then it began to recede. Now the one-time ginge is a nose round the fringe and lives in Lee's head rent-free. Doesn't quite rhyme, but it's pretty good. And then finally,
I'd say he knows Miles.
then he's got
and
one
me
for Miles.
very well.
He's got one for Miles here.
Is he?
And
What?
this was
Our Miles.
Yeah, it's one
Go,
linked
go,
to
go,
what
go.
Miles showed a lot of man love for Maroney.
Oh,
yeah.
Allegedly. So this is for you.
Go on then.
Said Matty Maroney's a new boy for Briz. His impact is hard not to miss. And so lo and behold, if his feet don't get cold, Miles will blow him a kiss.
Oh, the God. Whoa. Are you... Wait. That's got to be... Hammy Hambley in disguise.
Could be
surely.
Hammy.
I don't know.
It could be a third Hambley we've never heard of that's coming in from nowhere. Or
But-
it could be a Mizzen.
Seriously.
We could have a laureate.
If that is J.P. Holden, then that is class, right? And he's even got a poet's name.
Yeah, so we appreciate that, and it
That's
also
brilliant.
it links. It shows that he actually, well, unless he ran it through AI and said, right, listen to the transcript and come up with a couple of poems that are quite good. Then, but we'll assume he is a keen listener to the pod. So if you want to make up some sort of rhyming
Challenges on.
poem for this pod,
Well,
we'll
I'd
look
say
out
that
for it.
the Hambley brothers are going to be on that now.
They
I
are.
reckon.
Hamleys are already on
Spencer
it.
Meason's
They're
on
on
it.
Okay. Right, boys, we need to wrap it up. It was supposed to be a short one. It is about nearly an hour. Oh, well, I'm sure people,
therapy.
I'm sure
people
people
will
can
listen to
fast
it.
forward through it if they want to. So anyway, we probably won't do a pod
I
next
guess
weekend.
probably until Northampton.
We'll do something to preview the Northampton game. May get a couple of things in there. So in the meantime, everyone, have a good week. Stay safe and...
Up the Bears.